Welcome back to Hype Podcast. This is Hypeable.com's flagship show where we bring you all the latest news in entertainment and pop culture every week. My name is Pamela and I'll be your host today. If you have been listening to us for a while, you will know that on top of our weekly news episodes, we also like to periodically shine a spotlight on things that we're either really big fans of or obsessing over in the form of hype specials. So that's what we've got for you guys today. When I was at Comic-Con this summer in July, I got the opportunity to sit down for a nice chat with Lindsey Stirling, and I'm sure that a bunch of you know who that is. She is an insanely talented electric violinist and just a true artist. The way that she's able to blend her own original compositions with interpretive dance and visual elements is just so amazing. So if for some reason you've never heard of her before, definitely head over to YouTube and check out some of her videos because I guarantee you will be amazed. And funnily enough, we actually didn't talk anything about music when I caught up with her at Comic-Con. She was actually there talking about her upcoming comic book that she's releasing in November. So for those of you that don't know, Lindsey is working on a 6-issue comic series called Sparrow, and it was really, really fun to kind of get to pick her brain in a relaxed setting and hear all about the process that she went through to create this really interesting fantasy world. I'm so excited to pick this comic up in November, and I hope that you guys enjoy listening to a little bit of the behind-the-scenes chatter as far as what it took to bring this upcoming tale to life. Before we get to the interview portion of the show, we do want to remind you about all of our contact information. For starters, you can always reach us via Twitter. We are at HypeableHype on there. We are also at HypeableHype on Instagram in case you want to follow along on any of the pop culture related adventures the show's hosts are having in between episodes. If you have rather lengthy comments, you can actually leave them for us in 2 different ways. You can always drop us a line in the show notes on the latest episodes page on Hypeable.com. And additionally, we do have an email address set up in case you want to reach us that way. Our email address is hype@hypeable.com, and we love hearing from you guys. So whether you want to reach out to suggest a topic for us to discuss on a future episode or just want to comment on something that you heard us talk about in whatever episode you happen to be listening to, we'd love to hear from you. So don't be shy. Use those, and we can't wait to feature some of your feedback on an upcoming episode of Hype. All right, we're just about ready to get into the interview portion of this episode, but before we do, I just want to take a minute to welcome any of you that might be listening to us for the first time. Thank you so much for checking the show out. Like I said at the top of the show, we are Hypeable.com's flagship podcast, and we release weekly episodes rounding up the latest news and kind of giving our own take and analysis on what's been going down in entertainment. So we hope that you take a minute to check out one of our regular episodes or even check out some of our other specials. We've had a bunch of different people on over the years. We've talked about a bunch of different things from The 100 to Merlin to Stranger Things to Harry Potter. So I really, truly believe there's something for everybody at this point. And we hope that you find something that you like. All right, that's it for me. Thank you so much again. And please enjoy our chat with Lindsey Stirling about her upcoming comic called Sparrow. Got a copy of her memoir when that came out, and I thought that was really, really fun. But this is like a whole new endeavor for you. Mm-hmm. So like fiction, memoir writing, that's like so different in a lot of ways, even though it's still storytelling.
Right.
So why did you want to tell like this particular story? What enticed you to kind of move over to that?
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I love storytelling, and there's so many different mediums that you can do that through, and I've done it through my songs. Like each song to me, I like it to tell a story, and then when I do an album, I want the whole album to tell a story, and my music videos, same thing. My shows, I want them to have the arc of like the emotional arc that a story has, and so a lot of people have said, oh, this is so different for you to jump to comics, and it feels very, like, as I've been working on it, it's even surprised me how not different it feels, because I'm, like, thinking of story ideas. I'm designing costumes. I'm coming up with, like, creating a world, which is kind of what I my favorite thing to do. So it feels very natural in a way, a lot more so than I thought it would. But also, I had kind of thought of this story years ago, originally for a music video. Turned out it was way too high budget. You know, I was never going to be able to afford to do this whole idea, and so I shelved it. And then, you know, when the people from Golden Apple approached me about doing this project, I was really excited because they were like, yeah, you don't have to worry about budgets. You can create any world you want. And I thought of my little story immediately. Yeah. And so, anyways, it's been really fun to work on it.
Yeah. By the way, this is Pamela from Hype Podcast, and I'm here with Lindsey Stirling. I'm sure you guys know her. We just kind of like jumped into the questions, but she's here at Comic-Con. And we're really excited to have her on the show. So thanks so much for being here.
Oh, absolutely.
Usually I'm a little bit more like, you know, introductory, but this is great. So did you, like, you said that you were inspired for a music video idea. Was it a song in particular that like kind of drew you to the story you wanted to tell, or?
Yeah, it was on my very first album, so this was a long time ago, and I had a song called Zizi's Journey, and yeah, I wanted it to be about this little character possibly named Zizi, and you know, her little adventure. Since then, yeah, it's changed dramatically. You know, the story has evolved so much, and really, we've been able to just make it, you know, a huge epic tale, and but it all kind of emerged from that little song.
That's really cool. So was like was that why you wanted to go with a visual aspect instead of writing a novel? Because originally it was very visual.
So visual, yeah. And you know, even my videos, they're so, like, I guess my art in general is very much so about the visual aesthetic. You know, it's the music, but also it's how does the music come to life in a visual way. And so, you know, doing a comic book is so all about the pictures and the artwork, and so it's really cool to take it in that same direction, but now it's just still images.
Yeah, totally. So art, obviously, like you said, is like a huge part of a comic and stuff. Mm-hmm. How involved were you in the art process? Like, did you do any like preliminary sketches that you sent over to the artist, or did you guys have chats about it?
Well, the first time I met the artist, it was really fun. We went to this cafe and we were sitting there, and he's like, "So what do you like? Do you like this? Do you like capes? Do you like cloaks? Do you like, you know, just," and then he was literally sketching as I'm talking, and it was so cool. They're so fast. And he's drawing, he's like, "Do you like this kind of boot? Oh, okay, more of an open boot." You know, so, oh, what about like a high neck, or, you know, just all these little things. Oh, we add more straps. And then he's putting straps on, you know. So it was just really cool to sit there and watch him just draw. And then as we've designed, you know, the character has not just like one look. She's got multiple looks and costumes, and it's going to change. And so I've drawn little sketches and, you know, sent them to the artist, and then he'll send back his renditions, and it's been very collaborative.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like, you know, like when you are trying to find like the killer and they do like the sketches at the police station. That sounds exactly like what it is, but it's just coming from your brain. That's so cool. Mm-hmm. Was there a character, like, because I'm sure that she's not the only character in the book, right? You probably meet like a bunch of different people and stuff like that. Yeah. Was there one character that you were kind of surprised by the way they turned out after they were sketched, like from your brain to the page?
Well, one of the characters that I'm the most excited about, and this says a lot about me, but my dog is a character in the book.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
And so, because I have this little dog, and she, in so many ways, is like the best decision I ever made was getting this little dog. And she's you know, I got her at a time when I was just going through a lot of stuff. And so she just kind of was this something that brought light back into my life at a really hard time. And so I just love my little dog. Her name's Luna. And her character has evolved it from just being like this little sidekick to she's a very integral part of the story. So not only visually has she evolved, but she's now a very strong character, and she has a backstory of her own. Mm-hmm. You know, and a lot of the characters have evolved in that same way, but Luna in particular is fun because she's almost like a mood ring, and she changes color depending upon what's going on and her mood and how she's feeling. And so
that's amazing.
That was kind of a fun little evolution.
And that's so true, because like I have a small dog too, and I feel like they definitely pick up on all of that stuff. Like my dog knows when I'm sad, he knows when I'm crying, and all of that stuff. So that's really clever. Mm-hmm. So does Luna talk in the books, or is she kind of just like the mood ring but is still like very much dog, you know? Like
she's more like a dog, but yeah, she has her own, she will emote, you know. It's almost kind of like other people will sometimes talk for her, so that cute. Kind of, you know, like almost she's the sidekick, so someone will kind of express what she's feeling and talk for her.
That's really cool. And I was reading, like, I know the book's not out yet, so I was like reading the synopsis and stuff like that. And I love the idea, like the central idea of the story, which is this girl who's trying to survive in a world where hope is dwindling. I feel like that's going to resonate a lot with people for different reasons. Why was that particular story important for you to convey?
Well, I love the symbolism of light versus darkness. And in this world, the light basically is being lost from this world. It's getting, the color is being lost. It's getting colder and colder. And it's just, this planet is basically dying. And so literally, this character is trying to find hope in a world that is about to die. And so I've always loved that the contrast of darkness and light and the symbolism there, because darkness cannot exist when light is present. If you bring a light into a room, the darkness will never consume the light will expel the darkness. And so this idea that you can't, there is always hope, you just have to find the light. And I think everyone in life, there's so many ways you could, this could be political, it could be spiritual. For me, it's a little more of a spiritual story. And I think you always have to be filling yourself with light. You cannot live on yesterday's light. You have to always be filling yourself with hope and light and positivity. And so that's kind of what the metaphor means to me, but it could mean so many different things.
Yeah, totally. And I know a lot of people, especially because we're so involved in the online world, and a lot of people come to the online world to find solace in different ways. And, I'm sure you hear this with your music too, but we have sometimes people will write into us and be like, oh, like just having you guys on the background, it really helps, because I'm not thinking about this is bothering me. I'm just thinking about whatever is happening, and music is such a powerful tool for that. But for you specifically, like, how do you find ways to fill yourself with joy? Light and stuff like that?
I think for me, I've learned I have to be conscious of that. It's not just going to happen. You're not just going to be positive all the time unless you actually kind of take time to work on that and make it a practice of thinking positively, practicing gratitude, and taking moments of your day to pause and be grateful, or writing down things you're grateful for. Things like that have really helped me. But I think some of the things that honestly fill me with the most light are, I said I'm very spiritual, and also I'm very religious. And I've found my own religious practices that just fill me with light on a weekly basis. I go to church, and and I really try to, do the little things like reading my scriptures or prayer. Like, these are things that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, have made my life, given my life a foundation, so that everything else is crazy that's happening and changing and this and that, like, I still have this foundation of family and faith and, those core things. If I can keep those balanced in my life, everything else tends to work.
That's really awesome. Yeah, because it's so easy to like get wrapped up in everything, but you have that one thing, and you know that that's your constant. I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. And so, like, back to the initial story that you're telling in this 6-part series. I think that that's awesome, by the way. That's not just like a one and done. Like, you're going to expand on the world.
Yeah.
Is it like a dystopian world? Like, so are we still kind of in a world that we'll recognize, or is it more like a fantasy world that you've had to build?
It's more of a fantasy world.
Okay, cool.
It's got, it's definitely another world. And there's different rules there. There's different animals. There's different cultures, different, like, rules of the planet. You know what I mean? Which makes it so fun, because you do get to just be like, oh, do I want to have, like, giant fireflies? Sure, why not? Anything goes. Is there going to be a different race here? Like, there's some animals in it. Like Luna is she's not just a dog. She's this special race of dog, and it's been really fun to invent cultures and people and, like the things that make this planet run that have been taken, and that's what they're trying to find to restore the light to the planet. So yeah, it was fun to make a fantasy world. And I've always been very inspired by, fantastical and fantasy. So it made sense to do that.
Yeah, totally. What kind of, like, what parts of fantasy, or like what books or movies or anything like that kind of inspired you while you were going into making this?
Well, I mean, I've always loved the kind of the Final Fantasy series. I think that the kind of, I'm not too educated in it, but I've loved the costuming that they do. And so I really looked at tons of Final Fantasy characters as I was kind of developing the costumes. And the worlds that they create are just so beautiful and fantastical. And they've got these strong female roles. And then in terms of... I guess, I love the dynamics of characters and, like, Guardians of the Galaxies. And this has kind of like this team of people that are all working together. And so kind of looking, how did those relationships work? Or Avengers, how did those relationships work? And as I've kind of worked with the writer to build the relationship between these characters.
Yeah, totally. What would you say, I mean, like, that sounds like challenging in and of itself, but what would you say was the most challenging part for you in terms of going into a project like this?
It was honestly, I was very excited to do like a 6 series that hopefully will turn into more than that. But, doing 6 episodes, it tells a much bigger story than I'm used to telling. Like, usually it's a music video, it's just 3 minutes, and you get to tell, you have a very short amount of time to introduce a character and introduce a conflict or a problem and then resolve it, which has its own challenges, but trying to make sure that there's enough of depth in this story to fill 6, episodes. You can't just do a surface level story. You have to really get to know these characters and their backstories. And so it's so much bigger than I thought it would be. And yeah, making this seem like it's real. These are real characters, and building their lives is a lot more challenging than I expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like the hardest part for me, if I were doing something like this, is like figuring out where to cut it off, because I always want to know more, because I get really curious.
It's almost the opposite problem.
Yeah. Oh, really? Was that easy for you to know, like, I'm going to cut it here, and then the next book is going to go from here to here, like the episode and stuff like that? Was that easy for you? Or?
Well, for me, it was almost, it was kind of like, okay, when we picked the arc of the story, I was like, well, if we did expand, where would it go from there? It was like, oh, well, and I was like, okay, like, I guess it is. I was like, stop thinking about that. Just focus on here. But yeah, it was almost, like I said, it was hard to expand almost at first, because I was like so used to making very short stories. And it was like, oh, wow, this is just getting so big. It was almost overwhelming.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's kind of cool. So did you, like, right away, did you know you wanted to do 6, or was that something that was propositioned after you were like, hey guys, I kind of have this idea for this cool thing, but it's kind of half-baked? Or
yeah, it was very half-baked. When I came, or when we met for the first time, I had a very limited idea, this little seed basically, and then as we kind of decide where we wanted to take the story, they suggested 6 episodes, because I didn't know exactly where I wanted it to go. I just kind of knew this is the conflict, this is the problem, and I want this to be the resolution. And and so it started out very simple, and it's just expanded so much, and now I'm like wondering, how are we going to fit all of this into 6 little episodes? But they feel confident that we can, because it's still not quite all figured out yet, but I'm like, we're going to make it happen.
Do you feel like this world that you've created is a world where there might be more stories to tell other than the one character you're focusing on?
Yes, and that's kind of the hope is, I'm hoping that it takes and that people want to hear more, but we're really trying to make it not just about, Sparrow is the main character. She's based very much on myself, but we don't want it to be all about her. We want everyone to wonder, like, well, where did Strat come from? Where did Luna come from? Like, what's her story? And so we're hoping, and we're kind of ending it. It's definitely resolved, but also they go off, and there are many more adventures to be found, and and that will allow you to learn more even about the other characters.
That's super cool. And then, like I know that you are inspired by music and you are a musician. So, is a musical element something you might be hoping to incorporate into the story in the future, like as kind of like a side along situation?
Absolutely. I have to make a theme song for Sparrow, Sparrow's theme, and an overall theme for the story. And I think that's what I'll start with, rather than scoring the entire thing, which would be amazing, but just such a huge undertaking right now. So it just makes so much sense to me, though, because I've done lots of video game covers, and I've covered, like I did a Final Fantasy cover where I took a bunch of themes from those, and I've done Zelda and just so many. And so I'm like, I want to do my own video for like the theme song to this, my own story. So definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super cool. And then I know that you probably don't want to like tease too much because you want the fans to be surprised. But what if you could tease, like, is there like one scene that you're really excited for fans to get to in the first installment?
The first installment?
Yeah, like well, I guess we should backtrack a little bit. How far apart are these coming out?
You know what? Actually, I am not sure. I know the first one is dropping in late October, and then it will be actually in, comic book stores in November. And but I guess some of the things I'm most excited about are there's little Easter eggs throughout them that tie back to my art. And so you'll see little things that are like symbolic of like like some of the artwork is kind of, violin-esque. Like there's little little tidbits, like some of the artwork almost looks like a scroll of a violin, say, maybe as part of the furniture, But there's little tiny Easter eggs, or, there's one scene where they are all kind of stuck in this glass globe, which is very much like the Shatter Me video I did. So there's all kinds of little tie-ins to my music, which just really makes me feel like this is, my art is feeding this project, and then, in turn, this project is going to then help me create a new song. And so it makes it feel very much like it's just a piece of what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's like almost like an extension of you. That's super cool. And I'm sure it's going to be so fun for the fans because it's like they can read it once, like, and devour the story, and then go back and like try and find the little pieces, like, oh, like there's Lindsey, or like there's this and stuff like that.
Totally.
How much have you kept them kind of informed in terms of like the process of creating this? Like, have you been like super active in teasing on Twitter or Instagram?
I'm going to start doing more of that because for a while we were kind of keeping it under wraps as this was all coming to fruition, and it just really got kind of announced a couple, recently. And so now I'm going to start, I think I'll show them some of my little sketches that I made, and, and really start to tease what's coming. Because, we're just now getting some of the initial pages designed. And so now I feel like now's the time when it's like, okay, I'm ready to start sharing with my fans little snippets.
Yeah, that's super cool. And then, of course, like we're here at Comic-Con, which is like fan central in so many ways. Is this your first time at the convention, or have you been before just as a casual fan of whatever, or a super fan?
Well, this is my first time coming. I feel like every year I've wanted to come, and I've been in South America, or just somewhere else every time Comic-Cons come around. So I was so excited when this year we like marked in the calendar, and I was like, nothing's getting in the way. I'm going to Comic-Con, and it's so fun. Yeah. Just, the best people watching you'll ever find, ever, and just, I love costumes. I love, it's a really fun culture to dive into, and I love how, I don't know, you just feel such an excitement.
Yeah, and like a sense of community too. That's my favorite thing. Like everybody's super nice, and like everyone's taking pictures with each other, and like you have like the old comic fans and the new comic fans, and there's families and friends and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely an experience for sure. So you got a chance to walk on the floor yesterday, right?
100%.
What was that like for the first time? Because I feel like people are they always have like, good descriptions of that, their first time walking on the floor.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. Everything is so massive, you know what I mean? Like there's these huge pictures, and like as you're walking, all of a sudden, this epic soundtrack starts playing, and you turn over here and you see like someone walking in, and or you see some kind of premiere being played. It's just, I think the best word for it is it's just this epic room. And I've been to many convention floors, and this is definitely the most, I don't know, grand that I've seen. And I love all the artwork that is everywhere. It feels like there's just such a strong sense of, like you said, community and artistry and passion. Like people love what they're doing here and what they're sharing.
Yeah, totally. Was there like a costume or a booth that you were just like, yes, this is the one that's like sticking in my brain for a while?
Oh, man. Well, there was this giant, like, Iron Man costume.
I think I saw that on Instagram.
It was massive. And I was like, there's a person in there? And how are they controlling this thing? It was awesome. And I love, like, steampunk stuff. And so I passed a couple booths that had, like, steampunk hats. And that was the booth that I was like, I want to come back to here. And I want to get, like, a bunch of that stuff. Because I'm just obsessed with costuming. And so, yeah.
That's cool. So obviously, like, Hypable fans are super nerdy about a bunch of different things. Like, what do you get super nerdy and excited about? Be it movies or books or TV?
Probably Harry Potter is the thing that I am the
nice.
most just nerdy about. Read all the books multiple times and watched every movie, and I have a set of robes and a wand at my house. Like, I'm such a nerd for Harry Potter.
I was going to ask if Luna was named after Luna
She is,
Lovegood. Oh,
yes.
that's amazing.
She totally is.
Yeah, Harry Potter is huge on our site. That's like the first fandom that we started out with.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, then we're soul sisters.
Exactly. So what's your Hogwarts house? Must know.
Oh, well, I took the test. And
nice.
I was Gryffindor.
Me
what about
too.
you? Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be Gryffindor buddies. That's
nice.
awesome. That's super cool. Okay, well, I think we're just about out of time, but we do this thing every week when we podcast, and the segment is called How We Hype, and it's kind of a way for us to share with our listeners what we've been enjoying in pop culture. So whether we've seen like a movie, been like super into an album, or like read a great book, like we just try to give them like recommendations.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, how have you been hyping over the past few weeks or months?
That's a really good question. I might be super late to the game on this one, but I just, let's see. Well, I'll share two. I just discovered Zara Larsson. I knew about her, but I just really got into her music. So I'm obsessed with Zara Larsson. She has this song called Lush Life that is my summer jam, and it makes me so happy every time I hear it. So that's probably like the artist that I'm just like, whoa, recently realized she's amazing. And then I guess, I don't know if this is hyping, but I just read the book Anatomy of Peace, and it's not pop culture at all, so that's probably a terrible answer, but it's such a good book, and I would recommend it to anyone. It's all about remembering to see people as people, because so many times we see people as objects that, people we don't know, or even people we do know, and it's about always making sure that we humanize and see the humanity in every person. It's amazing.
That sounds really like soul-searching,
I
love it.
But it's really well written, and it's very, very easily understood. So
Very cool. Anatomy of Peace.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Lindsey. It was a pleasure to have you on. And I hope you enjoyed Comic-Con. Of course, anytime. Come back anytime and talk about Sparrow or your music. We'd love to have you. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye.